Conversations with Greg J is on. Good morning, Greg J here. It's where we have casual conversations, culturally relevant, powerful, examining from the soul of our consciousness. We're just out here trying to see what it do every day, trying to live this life. Like to always bring our connections in academia, intellectuals, politicians, clergy people from all over the diaspora to help us figure this thing out. Today, I'm really curious about, all this conversation about AI. In the arts and culture world, man, I'm learning that the record companies are even putting together record deals based on AI only. I know that artists are using AI to finish commissions and everything like that. You can just go to the chat GPT and say what you want and boom, boom, boom. Your document is ready. Your character, your faces are ready. Man, it's just so much going on. And I don't know about you. I think my digital devices are going haywire because I might text my friend and say, hey, I want to go to the baseball game, and doggone it, if ads don't come up for the Dodgers or whoever, thus and so. It's really, really something. But what does this all mean to us as this evolving, migration into the matrix, digital, 5G, where did the COVID lockdown, remember, and everybody was saying that they were building out 5G. That's why we were down. Well, you know what? Our guest today is going to help us break it down, and hopefully we can find some connective tissue to our African spirituality, our African consciousness, our Blackness. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm really honored and privileged today. Sadiki Bakari is here. There he is. Good morning. Are you there, my brother?
Greetings, brother. How are you?
Yes, I'm doing all right, sir.
Excellent.
Sadiki Bakari, they say an Afro-futurist, an expert in transhumanism. And I just want to start the show off today by asking you to define Afro-futurism and define transhumanism.
Okay, well, I don't consider myself an Afro-futurist. However, just dealing with Afro-futurism, that's specifically simply dealing with the future, where technology is headed from an African center or perspective. That's how I would define it. As far as transhumanism is the merging of man and machine. When we say man, we're talking about humans. When we say machine, we're talking about the different and many aspects of technology.
Wow. So the analogy of the movie The Matrix is spot on.
Well, yeah, to a degree. It's the rabbit hole is very deep. It's very deep. Let me just put it that way. I do my best to explain things on a surface level to assist people to begin to encounter that rabbit hole. There's a lot that we are dealing with at this particular moment in time as far as the technologies and what these technologies mean, what they're for, how they assist us, how they don't assist us, how does that affect our spiritual being, so to speak? How does that affect us in the corporate world? How does that affect us business in general? How does that affect us as far as school? How does that affect us as far as the many different aspects of human experience on a daily basis?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, let's get started here. The whole artificial intelligence, AI, in my area now, doggone it, the record companies are putting out deals for AI only. You start to see songs, composed by AI. I know they've been resurrecting. I saw Biggie Smalls and a Tupac record online where it had been created by AI. But what was really interesting is that a lot of people were like, okay, that was cool, but it was missing the soul, that intangible spiritual essence that we have. Are we in danger of losing that as we become into these new technologies?
It's definitely a possibility. It's a concern. It's definitely a concern. When we look at these different technologies, what happens is people get so immersed in the technologies that we no longer immerse ourselves into ourselves as we need to continue to transform ourselves to ascend, so to speak, from a spiritual standpoint, to be able to deal with mastering ourselves, to be able to deal with just the quote unquote evolution of our consciousness, our awareness, our intuition, our imagination, and to bring these things online in a way that is quote unquote God consciousness, so to speak, to bring out that divinity. You mentioned art. Art is a major, major tool from a standpoint of how we create and manifest here in this material realm, which is obviously the byproduct of our imagination. And our imagination, I say, is quote unquote God because of the abilities that we have in order to create and manifest with our imagination. It is one of the most phenomenal technologies that exist. There would be no artificial intelligence without our imagination. Our imagination, our intuition, those are archetypal, primordial, original aspects of technology. We're going to get deep in this. So when we deal with technology, first and foremost, I want the listeners to be clear that you are the original technology. Humans are the original technology. Nature is an original technology. The universe, these are original technologies that have intelligence, that have data, that are sentient in different ways, but they are sentient, conscious, and things of that nature. And artificial intelligence simply attempts to mimic those particular aspects of what we call, quote unquote, intelligence, consciousness, and so on and so forth. AI or technology in general is not conscious. Let me be clear in saying that. AI does not have a soul. AI does not have a spirit. It will not have a soul. It will not have a spirit. It will not be conscious, nor will it be sentient. That's just the narrative, obviously, that Western science promotes in order to make it this quote unquote God-like type of I don't want to say being, technology. Let's just say that.
Yeah, very interesting. You mentioned that. You know, I when I look at all of these new technologies spreading across the globe, and AI is a little daunting still for me. Also, the facial recognition and everything, and it's interesting how entities are using these technologies to say law enforcement is really where I want to go. And right, they have the dogs now, the robot dogs that are AI driven or whatever, but they still have biases, right? When they don't know black or white or, and these, it shows me that, these technologies, while the rhetoric that they give us, the narrative that they're feeding us is that it's going to help make our lives better, but it still contains an inherent bias. And I suppose that's because it's created by folks who wish to dominate from the area of supremacy. Is that too far-fetched?
No, it's absolutely correct. It can easily be documented. When we deal with algorithms, so all of these things are algorithmically oriented, algorithmic technology. So when you deal with algorithms, an algorithm is a step-by-step process or procedure for calculation or measurement. So when we deal with AI, this is what we're dealing with. Technology, chat GPT, all of these different things, you're dealing with algorithms. So algorithms are created through binary codes. So when you deal with algorithms, you're dealing with a psychology of the person or people that are creating these binary codes and these algorithms. So when you think of algorithm, think of pathology. Algorithms are pathologically rooted, so to speak, in how they operate. All right. So you're also dealing with the pathology of the creator of that binary code or algorithm. So if that pathology is a psychosis, the algorithms that you'll be dealing with is a psychosis. You cannot separate the psychology of the creator, so to speak, in this particular case, from what is being created. All right. So when we deal with those algorithms, we deal with bias, we deal with discrimination, we deal with racism. It's very real based on who's doing the coding and who's creating the algorithms. Prop 25 was something that was heavy here in California some years ago. The ability to predict crime. Okay. Cash bail versus algorithms. So this is what we were dealing with. You're talking about people either being allowed to have bail or not based on algorithms. Now, what does that mean? Algorithms based on their history, their criminal history, whatever other type of backgrounds, so-called race, ethnicity, all these different things as part of that construct, so to speak. All right. So that's what they use to determine if this person, Black person, would be able to receive bail or not based on the ability to predict crime in the future based off of these algorithms. All right. So this is what we have to understand. So yes, there is inherent racism when we deal with technology. I said almost 15 years ago that technology is the new racism, or algorithms are the new racism. So as we move into these different aspects of society in general, technology here first and foremost, you're going to see that also involved in that. So we know Neely Fuller and Frances Cress Welsing deals with so-called racism, white supremacy. They have 9 areas of people activity. All right. Those 9 areas are education, economics, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Now, those 9, with all due respect, now we have to use an asterisk for technology because all of those aspects of people activity are now technology driven. All right. Now let's add a 10th. With all due respect, we add a 10th now, which is technology, because now it needs its own category. All right. So that's what we're dealing with people activity. You're not dealing with people activity and not dealing with technology.
Wow.
And I can go deeper into that if you would like, as far as.
By all means. I'm man, I'm with you. You know, it's interesting because, and I love how you make the connection to Dr. Frances Cress Welsing and
Yes.
Dr. Neely Fuller. That's I'm familiar with the 9. So let me ask you this. Okay, so now technology, God, there's so much I want to ask you. So let me just measure my words here. Okay. If technology does not have a soul, well, it really does, because, okay, the question is, if technology does not have a soul, how is it inherently racist? Okay. Because racism is a function of, it's a spirit, if you ask me. Okay, and then what do we need to do in order, because technology is here, so how do we utilize it to continue the struggle against racism? Okay, there's so much more to that. I'm just you blew my mind, brother.
So Western science is inherently racist. Okay. Some of the programmers, not all, because I don't know all of them personally. All right. But some of the programmers are definitely inherently racist. And we know that just based on the notion of Prop 204. All right. Excuse me, Prop 25. Prop 25. So we know that just based off of that in the notion of that. Now, so if you want to go down the rabbit hole of so-called racism, white supremacy, when we deal with Western culture, you are dealing with so-called racism, white supremacy. So this is why I mentioned earlier, you have to deal with the mindset and the psychology of a person or a people. Whatever they do as actions, as a pathology and things of that nature will be connected and related to that psychosis or that aspect of dysfunction and menticide. So we know that cannot be denied, because we're going to see that through pathology, through action and things of that nature. All people have to do is look up what a psychopath is to understand really what I'm saying in regards to this. So technology is not any different. When you deal with technology, it's still going to be reared and driven technologically by psychopaths or a psychosis. So it is being programmed to operate in such a way. That's how it works, and how we can never forget when you deal with AI and technology, no matter how they try to tell us it's so great and it's so phenomenal, it is not separate of a human being. At its core, it did not create itself. Okay, so that's something we have to remember. Technology or AI does not have a soul. What it's attempting to do is mimic the human soul. Then the question becomes, well, what's a human soul? And do the people who's controlling it have a human soul? So these are deeper questions. When I say how deep that rabbit hole goes, then what is consciousness? Who defines what consciousness is? Or what is being sentient? Who defines what sentient is? So what I'm saying is Western science does not have the capability to define these things for people who have been on this planet. We don't know how long. That's how long it's been. Who are the first to interface with nature? Who are the first to interface with the cosmos? Who are the first to interface with each other? Who are the first to interface with their own personal self? The first to raise babies, the first to go through the process of the 40-week gestation period, the first to nurture, all of these different things. The first to understand spirituality and that connection to all that's around us. The first to create attributes of spirituality and all these different things, symbolism, all of these different things. So if anyone is defining anything, it should be the people who have had the most interface and an interaction with these things.
You know, as we go through this, I feel like we're in a cultural revolution, especially on the other side of the pandemic. Certainly, a lot of things have happened that have awakened our minds. And as we talk about technology, I made quite a few trips over to the continent, and one thing that I notice is that, okay, we talk 5G, that's the big thing. And I do want to ask you this down the line, but folks are saying that when we went into shutdown mode, that's because they were building out 5G, and people tried to debunk that and everything. But I got to tell you, I saw how my digital devices were acting a fool during that time. So they were out there doing something. But when we get to the continent of Africa, which, Africans are going to be the predominant race of people here in a decade, right? And so brothers and sisters are still on 2G. Are they so this is maybe a demonstration of what you were talking about, the pathology of white supremacy, keeping access to the available technology away from those where the natural resources are the most richest, fertile land. They can't even have a cell phone or some of these technology pieces without some of the minerals that come from Africa. But the people, the brothers and sisters over there are still on 2G.
Well, okay. So this is the question. Are we more concerned with advancement technologically from an artificial perspective, or are we more concerned with advancement from a standpoint of a spiritual perspective? Also, can those things be balanced, so to speak? They can be balanced. And that's more of the road that I travel on, is the balance of the two, with the most importance being on the spiritual side of it. All right. So let's talk about Africa. When we talk about Africa, what's the technology? The technology are those ancient rituals and traditions that have existed for thousands and tens of thousands and maybe even hundreds of thousands and millions of years. Mm-hmm. Those are the technologies. When you look at those particular, the rituals, the sigils, magic is not evil. All right. Magic, all of these different things, those are the technologies. That's why we're here today. We're not here because of artificial intelligence. So if we're using technology from an artificial intelligence standpoint, that should be used in order to assist us in our pursuit in regards to divinity and higher essences of God consciousness, so to speak. That's what the assistance should be. If it can assist us as far as certain aspects of nature, great. If it can assist us as far as particular aspects of our own spirituality, great. The dangers, let's look at this, or concerns. When you deal with technology, it's a very addictive thing. It's very addictive. It has a profound effect on our children, has a profound effect on their brains, their neurological system, hormones, cells in general. Of course, adults as well. When we deal with technology, it also creates this aspect of shortcuts as opposed to truly embracing and learning from the process. That process is important as far as our growth and development as humans, spiritually, psychologically, and whatever else you can think of, intuitively, and in many other aspects, emotionally, and so on and so forth. So those things are important. I know you want to talk about ChatGPT at some point. Well, this is what I'm saying. So what does ChatGPT promote? It promotes, okay, we can get this done right now in 5 minutes by using ChatGPT. But what it does, it crippled the person who does not learn the skills that's necessary in order to do whatever it is that they prompt ChatGPT to do for them. Right? Mm-hmm. So what's happening now with authors? You have, so-called authors, because let me make this clear, real authors aren't using ChatGPT. I've written 15 books. I've never used ChatGPT or anything of the sort. I write the books. It's all coming from my own consciousness. All right. So what is ChatGPT? ChatGPT now takes people out of authenticity. Now you're getting all of these different answers, so to speak, from ChatGPT, which are getting it from humans. Okay. That's where it's getting it from. It's getting it from data that's already in the cyber world, on the internet and things of that nature. That's where it's pulling from. Right. So let's be clear. It's not, because this is the misnomer. People think that it's thinking like a human, and it's not. It's just regurgitating information that humans have recycled all over the internet. Let's be very clear. All right. So again, what it's doing is teaching these aspects of shortcuts. It's taking people away from their spirit, away from their soul, away from their consciousness, away from their imagination. You mentioned the music industry or art. It's imperative that they take the artists away from the true aspects of what art is and what we've always been doing. We go all over Africa. That's why the art is as amazing as it is, because it's coming from a person's spirit, it's coming from a person's soul, it's coming from ritual, it's coming from culture, it's coming from tradition, it's coming from those things that make us human, that makes us divine. It's not coming from the basis of a machine. Mm-hmm. This is what we have to embrace, those aspects of our own power in artistry. Art is power. This is why there is a disconnection. When we look in the music industry, let me make this clear. Music industry is not hip hop. Music industry is not art, so to speak, as what we consider art. That's not the music industry. The music industry is a synthetic corporate version of rap and other types of music. We shouldn't even consider it hip hop in any fashion because it does not contain the elements of hip hop. It's primarily taking rap, which is not negative until you deal with the music industry. Because we know you have rap before you have 1973, this notion of when hip hop was created, which is a farce. This 50-year anniversary, which is a farce, because now what happens is you're disrespecting the Watts Prophets, the Last Poets, Gil Scott-Heron. You're disrespecting the Black Arts Movement. You're disrespecting the Harlem Renaissance. You're disrespecting all the other aspects of music that helped to create what they now call hip hop. You're disrespecting the ancient cultures. You're disrespecting all of it. All right. So we just want to continue to move towards the source.
You just said a word right there. You're absolutely right, because as I mess around with Chat GPT, man, I want to participate in the creative process, the consciousness process. I want it to come from that divine space in the universe that allows me to write or create or edit video or tell a story, whatever it is, man. Yes. And you're right. It just removes all of that. And again, you're making the loop back to, it does get back to, humans, and evildoers are everywhere. So it can be used to bad ends across the world. Honestly speaking, it's just like the new technology. Remember, Bitcoin was really big. All of those cryptocurrencies, people were making money at it. It was becoming a robust alternative form of monetary exchange. And I noticed that in that space, a lot of the communication amongst people who participated in that was across Twitter. And then, enter in Elon Musk, a person with, he's on the high end of developing technologies. He's that multi-billionaire. He has the power. He buys Twitter so he can control the communication among people who were involved in the cryptocurrency, the money markets of cryptocurrency, because it was about to take over, and there's a few other things that I think about, Elon Musk, but I think I've never met him, so I can't really speak bad of him. But what I see is hecka scary.
Okay.
And so, technologies in the hands of very powerful people, where we, the every man, the every woman, don't have a lot of control over it. We could be in danger of losing our consciousness, by being so addicted to technology, to your point.
Yes, absolutely. So,
man, so what do we do?
Okay. We look within ourselves. We have to be guided by our own divinity, which can be problematic because of this massive notion of programming. So, we look at things, we look at, virtual reality, we look at Facebook and metaverse, we look at, you mentioned Elon Musk and Twitter and all the things that, Elon Musk is doing as far as brain chipping, so to speak, and those type of things. It gets very interesting. What's happening is, you mentioned transhumanism, so I'm going to connect this dot for people, for everyone to really grasp this. There's a huge push now going into virtual reality, mixed reality, augmented reality, immersive reality, and those type of things. So hence the metaverse, all those type of virtual landscapes or infrastructures. Now, the reason for that is they need your consciousness. They need your soul. So in essence, these things are parasitic. Now, what am I saying? Right now, when we're interfacing with technology, we're outside of it, so to speak, right? It's a computer that we're interfacing with, or it's a digital phone that we're interfacing with. I'm doing my best to make this simple so people can grasp this. Where they're headed literally is to put you in the computer, in the virtual world, or for you to become it, the virtual world. Now, it cannot exist how they desire for it to exist without you. That's the intention, is to literally put you in the internet. And this is something that Meta's owner talked about. I can't think of his name at the moment, but this is something that he specifically talked about is, yes, is you interfacing, no longer interfacing from outside of the virtual world, but you actually being in the virtual world. That's the next phase. So this is why they talk about these avatars and all these other different things. And that's why you've been seeing movies for years like The Matrix and all these other sci-fi type of movies that are actually as much nonfiction as it is quote unquote science fiction. So these are things that we have to be very careful, because if you notice, everything is moving more into now more interfacing with our senses and things of that nature. It's things coming next year that's going to be interfacing more with the human senses. And this goes back to sixth sense technology. Sixth sense technology. Now, this is old. This is 15, 20 years old, but this is now being upgraded, and you'll see it in the coming year. And you'll be able to purchase this particular technology for $3,000 to $4,000 or so for those who are interested in it, but it's going to interface more with your senses, which is going to put you more, infuse you more into the technology itself. That's where they're headed.
Wow, yeah, the whole immersive thing is really fascinating to me, and you know, it's still I'm thinking about the goggles and all of these different tools that are out there now to help, folks access these technologies. And the more they get advanced, man, the human senses, that's really, really something. But how do we protect our young people? I mean, I'm just listening to you just now, and I can only think about how much time, my kids were spending on social media, and I had to break them away from it, because I'm afraid they may lose their consciousness.
Yeah, that is very difficult, because the children are involved. Somehow technology is involved in the majority of what they're doing in their life. As far as here with my daughters, they have technology time, so to speak, right? So my wife is good about making sure that stays in order as far as the technology time. So, those are things that have to be done. Like there has to be concrete things set in place in regards to social media and a lot of those different things. Honestly, children shouldn't be on social media. Because if we really knew what social media is, then we would understand that our children shouldn't be on social media, because they're not emotionally mature enough to be on social media. They're not psychologically mature enough to be on social media. But again, what's happening is they're using these technologies to immerse the children into the technologies at an earlier age, right? My generation, technology was never a priority. Going outside was a priority. We only did technology things, Atari, ColecoVision. You remember those things? That's when I was growing up. We only did those things when we couldn't be outside playing sports or whatever it is that we're doing outside as children. So it's a different time now. Now it's reversed. It's been flipped. So now children rather stay inside and be on technology than go outside and do active things. It's interesting because there was some statistics were taken in regards to the military, and the new people coming into the military, the youngsters out of high school, the young men and women, and them not being able to get through boot camp because of lower leg or lower body injuries, right? Torn ACLs. They talked a lot about torn ACLs. And obviously that's because the children are not active. And they specifically said because primarily all these children do is sit down and play video games. This is all they do. So when it came time to be active, obviously their body doesn't have a physical pathology of being active. So once they get into boot camp, they hurt. They hurt themselves. They get injured. So there's definitely that connection and how it affects us physically, but of course, psychologically as well.
And folks, this is where, making sure that I got to make mine. Well, they grown now, but I had to make them go outside. Let's go to the park with them. Got to get some outdoor time. Running around. What happened to that?
Yeah.
And then too, when I look upon the young people, I feel like we're getting a whole generation of, it's like they're robots, like, you know what I mean? It's like they're on some kind of brain chip, if you will, is in there, and I do think that's because we're allowing them to be on so much technology now. On the other hand, though, I mean, you can find lots of literature online and things now, especially when you want to, explore Black consciousness. You see our authors are out there. You want to go back in history. I just read the opinions and philosophies of Marcus Garvey just last week, and was able to find it online and everything. Man, I mean, there's so many positive uses. What do we do to keep, I guess there needs to be a discipline in parenting to make sure that the children access those types of resources online, as opposed to so much of the mindless stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And we make sure our children read books, real books, physical books in their hand. Not something that we make sure of, but you're correct as far as some things we may not physically be able to have in our hands. So those things can be found online. A lot of knowledge online. That's a double-edged sword. It's also a lot of propaganda as well. So that's the double-edged sword. So yeah, there has to be some parenting for children and young adults to understand how to maneuver these things. One thing that I've taught my children at an early age is to always ask questions: who, what, where, why, how, those things, so on and so forth. When you can answer those things, that's when you're beginning to get to truth. So I've always taught my children that. So that's something that has been ingrained and imprinted in them, since they could understand that. So that's imperative that, we teach our children these particular things and the detriments of technology as well, because they're not going to be taught that if we don't teach them that. That's not what the program is teaching. That's not the narrative in regards to technology. Literally, technology is being promoted as if it's quote unquote God, as if it's smarter than humans and all of these different things. And those things are not They're just not true. But that's the narrative that the media and Western science obviously is pushing.
I really love this conversation, and I'm just really just full of thought. And that divine center for me is always defined as love, because God is love. I always say love one another and everything. And I think that people, the darkness that would come before some people is because they are absent of love. And those are the ones that would manipulate these pathologies that you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And even as I say, in these days and time, after we've had that, there was something I saw, the global reset. And we see, as Black people, we're in a state of revolution almost, but the revolution is in the mind, right?
Yes.
And how would you share with us what your thoughts are? How do we leverage or use technology to uplift the race, uplift the people, American descendants of slaves, as we see what is before us right now? The struggle continues, as Molly Bell, she was on here earlier. The Molly Bell says often, how do we use this technology stuff before it uses us?
Well, it's already using us. Let's make that clear. So let me give this example in regards to technology. I have a long history and background in activism and organizing. In today's time, technology is something that can be used from a standpoint of mobilizing and galvanizing, right? Because one click can get a message to thousands of people. This is the flip side of that. This technology is also monitored. See, so what I want people to get is you have both sides. So if we talk about a positive, there's also something that's disagreeable, directly connected to it. That's important for us to know. When you deal with technology, any aspect of technology is an aspect of military warfare. I'm going to say that again. Any aspect of technology is an aspect of military warfare. Your digital phone is used for military warfare. The computer or internet is used for military warfare. The original use of the internet before we got it, before society got it, was for things that you mentioned earlier when you start dealing with propaganda, facial recognition, propaganda, all those different things. That's what it initially was being used for. These technologies are connected to DARPA, CIA, FBI. That's what they're connected to. Facebook or Meta in itself, and there's tons of research on it. It's a program that was obviously created for counterintelligence and counterinsurgency. So these are things that
we always boxing with Facebook. Trust and believe. We see them.
So we can't. Those are things that we're not going to get around. Your digital phone. People willingly do the biometric intelligence aspect of it. The what is it? A fingerprint, a thumbprint? I don't do it, so I don't know. It's one of them. Thumbprint, fingerprint. Your print, right? So
fingerprint, facial recognition too.
Right, fingerprint, facial recognition. So it's to a point because people don't know this. People are willingly being part of the experiment. So there are things that you can control yourself. So you can control how much or to what level you interface with technology. All right. At least make it harder for them. I mean, if they want to figure something out, they're going to figure it out. That's just what technology is. But you don't have to make it easy for them, is my point. So again, all aspects of technology is an aspect of warfare. 5G is an aspect of warfare. when you start breaking down radio waves and, you know, all of these different things, that's what you're dealing with. It affects our bodies, right? So, and these things are all documented by people who know more about 5G technology and radio waves and things of that nature than I do. Their work is to study how it affects our bodies, how it creates, assists to create cancer, how it, all these aspects of high radiation and what it does to the body. All these things are heavily documented and have gone through peer review. So all of that knowledge and information is definitely out there. So don't ever forget that when you are dealing with technology, there is a military aspect or side to that particular technology. Sure, you can go on Facebook and you can find your friends from when you were 12 years old. Of course you can. So, I mean, that's positive. That's something that it can be, you know, used for in a positive way. You can use it for marketing. I always tell people, if you're on social media, you should be using social media to promote your business, your products, or whatever it is that you have going on. That's something it should definitely be used for. Why not? Why not use it for your quote unquote, your brand and, you know, things of that nature. So we just have to be cognizant of, you know, what we're doing, why we're doing it, and those particular things. You're on mute.
Yes. So, you know, it's so funny. I was talking to someone recently and we were talking about the use of technology in military spaces to control the weather. And I actually believe that some of the weather patterns that we're seeing now, which, you know, unprecedented in human history, you know, climate change and all of that, I actually think that's either them in a technological war right now and just not telling us, or, you know, maybe one of those experiments went awry and they can't stop it. You know, it's just out there wreaking havoc in the atmosphere. But you're right. These technologies did have military uses at first, even GPS. That was top secret military tracking enemy movements. And now, look, you get your phone and directions to Popeyes.
Right.
You know, that's it. Man.
Which means it can also do the opposite. Meaning knowing where you are.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
You know, yeah, find my phone or share my location. Yeah. Wow.
Right. Wow. All of the above.
Sadiki Bakari, what's the latest book? What do you want the people to know as you come and sip coffee with me? I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, the latest book is Nuclear Thought and Anatomic Algorithms. Nuclear Thought and Anatomic Algorithms. So we really go down a rabbit hole. What we've talked about, I definitely talk about in this particular book. And that's really what we deal with. The programming. I heavily go in on the programming. Matter of fact, that's the largest code or chapter in the book. But yeah, so we deal with these different aspects of technology, ChatGPT. What does it all mean? Where's technology headed? What does that mean to us? What's spiritual technology? How we move forward in spiritual technology and all the different aspects of spiritual technology, meaning our own genome. How do we further and advance ourselves from that perspective? Genome just meaning all that exists within us and what makes us up. That's the genome. So we're dealing with your central nervous system. We're dealing with obviously your heart. We're dealing with your organs. We're dealing with your cellular and molecular structure. We're dealing with your subconscious mind. We're dealing with intuition. We're dealing with neurology. We're dealing with the imagination. So all of these things we're dealing with: consciousness, awareness, the soul, the spirit, all of these different things. All right. So I'm really breaking it down in this book. It's all me no chat GPT. And that's what it's about, really, so we can understand the times and what's happening and how do we move forward during these particular times, and not be bogged down by artificial intelligence, so to speak, but to be able to use it in a way that it can assist us, but most importantly, to be able to continue to transform ourselves beyond third dimensional consciousness and to be able to exist in fifth dimensional or even higher sixth dimensional consciousness and things of that nature, which is considered so-called Christ consciousness, KRST, or for others, Christ consciousness, and what that means from a standpoint of the divinity and what you're able to do in that particular type of consciousness and awareness.
Yeah, this is, I hear you loud and clear, because my thought right now talking to you is, I'm all in that.
Okay, let me say this too. So let me say this before you move forward. You're not going to find it on Amazon. All right. You have to get it directly from me. I like to autograph books. Amazon didn't have any part in the process of me creating this book. So why should Amazon make any money off of the book? So you have to get it directly from me. And to do that is you can simply email me at my name, Sadiki Bakari, SADIKI BAKARI at hotmail.com. Sadiki Bakari at hotmail.com. You can also message me on Facebook and Instagram, same name, Sadiki Bakari.
All right, that's what's up. You know, we got listen. You do talks and stuff. Can we get together, do talks at a book signing out here in Long Beach?
Sure.
Okay,
that's a possibility.
I want to talk to you about this. Okay. Very good.
That's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, this is really, really something. Now, before we go, okay, I'm just stuck on this, and I need to talk about it right now. It's in my spirit. It's in my soul.
Okay.
So, all right, I'm there. My divinity, I'm there. I know. Look, I'm a man of faith. Okay, and I'm there right now with everything that we've talked about. My inside of me, I'm there in that space.
Okay.
What is spiritual technology that helps me remain centered in such an evil world with all this crazy technology around me? What you said spiritual technology. What is that?
Okay, so spiritual technology. So technology simply means that there is a result to something. All right. When you deal with technology, the purpose is to get a result. Now, when you deal with spiritual technology, you're talking about results that you receive by tapping into spiritual aspects of yourself. All right. These spiritual aspects of yourself are all the things that I already mentioned: intuition, imagination, your neurological self, your subconscious mind, central nervous system, emotions. All of these things are spiritual aspects of yourself. So the pursuit is to continue to grow within yourself. And there's particular things that a person can do in order to do that, right? So a person has to overcome fear, right? So a person has to face those fears and overcome them, because what those fears do is it keeps a person stagnant. So that person is not doing the things that they're really here to do because they have fear for whatever reasons, which is also going to be connected to low self-esteem. You see how this works? It's going to be connected to insecurity. It's going to be connected to all of these things that keep a person from truly blooming or blossoming into or with their divinity. Also, trauma. A person have to deal with trauma. If they don't, they're going to continue to be triggered by those particular traumas. Media specifically has a program that taps into people's trauma to trigger them on a daily basis. If you watch the news every day, you're getting triggered from a standpoint of trauma. You are being programmed into fear from a standpoint of trauma. That was the purpose of so-called COVID. All of that was a fear-based trauma program. All right. So whenever you're dealing with the television and media, you're dealing with those particular aspects. So we have to do things in order to overcome those things. All right. And there, again, there's many things that you can do to do that. So we have to reset. we have to shift, we have to restructure our spiritual self. That is the reset. The reset is our spiritual reset. Once we are operating in our divine beingness, our power, our greatness, doesn't matter what's happening outside of us. Doesn't matter what Western scientists or Western technology or the political system or whatever or whomever else is doing if we're who we're supposed to be. This is what I do every day. I assist people in order to connect to the divine essence that's within them. They're not disconnected. They're just programmed. And there's barriers that's in the way. So I teach people how to overcome those barriers, stepping stones and things of that nature to get to a higher level of themselves so they can truly live their purpose, their vision, and their being.
Yes, sir. Wow. Wow. Thank you for that so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for coming through and sipping coffee with Brother Greg J.
Anytime, brother.
Yes. Yes. I appreciate you so much. You know, you can get this anywhere on Facebook, y'all. We're going to be up there for a while on YouTube. You can go on our website, Beat City Radio, beatcityradio.com. We're going to repurpose the audio, put it out there as a podcast. You know where it is, Coffee Conversations with Greg J. And on that YouTube page, we're trying to up our little YouTube game. So please like and subscribe that page so you can, be notified of when we go live and also get access to all of our different coffee conversations since we started this. We started this in the pandemic. Got on shutdown and said, let me just start calling my folks Backseat Waters. You know, a lot of people came through to sit down and sip coffee with me and just talk about things that matter to us, matter to our culture, matter to our communities. That's what it's all about. Unapologetic about that right there. And we just always encourage you to love one another, love one another, love one another. Thank you for coming through. Sadiki Bakari giving us something to think about this morning. Make it the best day ever. Peace and blessings.